Have you ever looked out your back window and seen your dog doing something that made absolutely no sense to you? There they are, standing in the middle of your yard on a perfectly normal Tuesday afternoon. Not playing. Not sniffing around. Not chasing squirrels. Just standing completely still in one patch of grass. Deliberately. Methodically. Eating it. Bite after careful bite, like they have made a very specific decision about lunch, and grass was the answer. You tap on the window. They look up at you for exactly 1 second. And then they look back down and keep eating. So you go outside. You crouch down beside them. You gently pull their head up and look at them with that mixture of confusion and mild concern that every dog owner knows intimately. And you say the thing every single dog owner has said at least once in their life. Why are you eating grass? And then maybe an hour later, it happens. That familiar sound. That lurching, heaving motion. And your dog vomits up a pile of half-digested grass onto your kitchen floor, your back porch, or if the timing is particularly spectacular, your living room rug. And someone nearby, a neighbor, a family member, a friend, says the thing that everyone always says. Oh, dogs eat grass when their stomach is upset. They do it to make themselves throw up. And you nodded. Because that explanation felt logical enough. Because you had heard it so many times that it had simply become fact in your mind. You filed it under things dogs do, and moved on. But here is what nobody ever told you. That explanation, the one you have heard your entire life, the one that has been passed down through generations of dog owners like a piece of folklore, is not only incomplete. It is fundamentally, scientifically wrong. And because you believe it, you are missing a critical signal your dog has been sending you about something happening inside their body that has absolutely nothing to do with an upset stomach. The real reason your dog eats grass changes everything. And once you understand it, you will never look at that patch of chewed-up lawn the same way again. Hello everyone. I am Dr. James Harlow, and welcome back to Paw Secrets Lab. I have spent over 14 years in veterinary internal medicine, and I can tell you with complete confidence that grass eating is one of the most universally misunderstood dog behaviors in all of companion animal science. The upset stomach explanation has been repeated so many times by so many people that it has become an unchallenged myth. A piece of veterinary folklore that sounds true, feels true, and is almost entirely false. What if I told you that multiple peer-reviewed veterinary studies have now examined grass-eating behavior in thousands of dogs and found that the vast majority of grass-eating dogs show absolutely no signs of illness before eating grass, and that fewer than 25% vomit afterward? If dogs were eating grass specifically to induce vomiting when sick, those numbers would look completely different. So if it is not about an upset stomach, what is it actually about? And more importantly, what is your dog trying to tell you when they make that deliberate choice to walk to a specific patch of grass and begin eating? Today at Paw Secrets Lab, we are going to answer those questions completely. Here is exactly what we are covering together. In Chapter 1, I am going to dismantle the upset stomach myth once and for all using the actual science. You are going to understand what researchers have genuinely discovered about why dogs eat grass, and what biological drives are actually behind this behavior. In Chapter 2, I am going to reveal the 4 real reasons. These are the 4 scientifically documented motivations behind grass eating that your dog cannot verbally communicate to you but is expressing through this behavior every single time. In Chapter 3, I am going to teach you the grass eating decoder. This is a specific observation method that tells you exactly which of the 4 reasons is driving your individual dog's grass eating, so you can respond to the right signal with the right solution. And in Chapter 4, I will walk you through the warning signs that tell you when grass eating has crossed from normal dog behavior into a symptom that requires urgent veterinary attention. Subscribe to Paw Secrets Lab right now and become part of our incredible, growing community of educated, devoted pet parents. Grab something to write with. What you are about to learn is going to fundamentally change how you understand your dog. Let us begin. Welcome to Chapter 1. Dismantling the upset stomach myth. Before we can understand the real reason your dog eats grass, we have to completely clear the space of the wrong answer. Because the wrong answer is not just unhelpful. It is actively preventing you from seeing something genuinely important. The dogs eat grass because their stomach is upset Theory sounds logical on the surface. The logic goes like this. Dog feels nauseous. Dog instinctively seeks grass. Grass irritates the stomach lining. Dog vomits. Dog feels better. Clean, simple, circular. A neat biological story. But here is what happens when you actually test that story against real data. In 2008, a landmark study published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science surveyed over 1,500 dog owners about their dogs' grass-eating habits. The researchers asked owners to observe and record whether their dogs appeared ill before eating grass, and whether vomiting followed the grass eating. The results completely dismantled the conventional wisdom. 79% of dogs in the study ate grass on a regular basis. But of those grass-eating dogs, only 8% showed any signs of illness whatsoever before eating the grass. 8%. Not the majority. Not even close to the majority. A tiny fraction. Meaning that for 9 out of 10 grass-eating dogs, there was no preceding stomach upset, no nausea, no illness driving the behavior at all. And the vomiting side of the story was equally revealing. Fewer than 25% of grass-eating episodes resulted in vomiting afterward. 3 out of 4 times a dog eats grass, they do not vomit. They simply eat it, digest some of it, pass some of it, and go on with their day completely unbothered. If the entire purpose of eating grass were to induce therapeutic vomiting when feeling sick, you would expect to see sick dogs eating grass, and you would expect vomiting to follow almost every time. Neither of those things is true. The data says so clearly and unambiguously. So the upset stomach explanation has survived entirely on the power of repetition and the human brain's extraordinary ability to notice the dramatic examples, the times it did happen, and completely discard the unexciting majority of times it did not. This is called confirmation bias. We notice the dog that vomited after eating grass and say, "See, that is why they do it." We completely ignore the 12 other times last month that our dog ate grass and nothing happened afterward. We built an entire species-wide belief system on a selected sample of memorable moments. Now that we have cleared that false explanation completely out of the way, we can look at what is actually happening. And what is actually happening is far more fascinating, far more nuanced, and far more useful to you as a dog owner than upset stomach ever was. Welcome to Chapter 2. What your dog is actually telling you. Veterinary behavioral science has now identified 4 distinct, scientifically documented reasons why dogs eat grass. Understanding all 4 is essential because different dogs eat grass for different reasons. And responding to the wrong reason with the wrong solution helps nobody, least of all your dog. Real reason number 1. Instinctive dietary fiber seeking. This is the most common driver of grass eating in domestic dogs and the one that tells you the most actionable thing about what your dog's body actually needs. Dogs are not strict carnivores. They are omnivores with a carnivore-leaning digestive system that nevertheless requires plant matter, specifically dietary fiber, to function optimally. Fiber feeds the beneficial bacteria in the gut microbiome, regulates intestinal motility, and supports healthy stool formation. In the wild, a dog's canine ancestors consumed fiber constantly. Not through grass specifically, but through the stomach contents of their herbivore prey, through berries, through roots, through plant material encountered during foraging. Your domestic dog has the same biological requirement for dietary fiber that their wild ancestors had. But most commercial dog foods, particularly lower-quality dry kibbles, contain inadequate levels of the right types of fiber to meet that need. When your dog's gut microbiome and intestinal system are signaling a fiber deficit, your dog experiences what behavioralists describe as a foraging drive. They feel a compelling internal urge to seek and consume plant matter. And the most abundantly, immediately available plant matter in their environment is the grass growing directly beneath their feet. When you see your dog calmly, deliberately, selectively grazing in the yard without urgency and without subsequent vomiting, fiber seeking is almost certainly what you are witnessing. And the solution is not to stop them from eating grass. The solution is to address the underlying dietary gap that is sending them to the yard in the first place. Real reason number 2. Ancestral parasite purging behavior. This one will genuinely surprise you. And it is perhaps the most biologically elegant explanation of all 4. Wild canids, wolves, coyotes, And wild dogs have been observed eating grass and plant roughage in research settings even when well fed and showing no signs of gastrointestinal distress. Behavioral ecologists studying this pattern proposed a remarkable hypothesis that has since gained substantial scientific support. These animals are not eating grass because they feel sick. They are eating grass as a preventive biological maintenance behavior specifically linked to intestinal parasite management. Here is the mechanism. Grass, particularly long grass consumed in quantity and swallowed with minimal chewing, passes through the digestive tract largely intact. As it moves through the intestines, its physical texture acts like a mechanical brush. It stimulates the intestinal walls. It creates movement. And critically, it can physically dislodge and carry out intestinal worms and parasitic organisms that have attached themselves to the gut lining. In wild animals whose survival depends on maintaining a parasite-free gut, this behavior is an adaptive, beneficial, self-maintenance strategy. Your domestic dog carries this same ancestral behavioral program even though they receive regular deworming treatments and live in a controlled environment. The program is ancient, and it runs deep. When internal conditions trigger it, the behavior activates. Real reason number 3. Psychological and behavioral fulfillment. Dogs are extraordinarily complex psychological creatures with significant enrichment and stimulation needs that domestic life frequently fails to meet. When a dog is understimulated, underexercised, or spending large portions of their day without sufficient mental engagement, they will seek out sensory experiences to fill that deficit. Grass eating provides a surprisingly rich sensory experience for a dog. The texture of grass on the tongue and palate, the smell of soil and plant compounds, the physical act of cropping and chewing, the taste compounds released by broken grass blades. For a dog that has been lying inside all morning with nothing interesting to engage their senses, stepping into the yard and grazing provides genuine sensory stimulation and a form of foraging enrichment that their brain finds deeply satisfying. Research into canine enrichment has consistently shown that dogs given adequate physical exercise, mental stimulation, and foraging opportunities show significantly reduced grass-eating frequency compared to dogs whose enrichment needs are not being met. When a dog is truly fulfilled in their daily life, the behavioral drive to seek stimulation from grass eating diminishes substantially. Real reason number 4. Genuine gastrointestinal discomfort. Now, here is where I want to be completely precise with you. The upset stomach explanation is not 100% false. It is simply not the primary or most common reason. It is one reason among 4. And it does represent a real subset of grass-eating behavior that is important to recognize correctly. Some dogs do experience gastrointestinal discomfort, excess stomach acid, mild nausea, or gut irritation that drives them to seek grass. The specific characteristic that distinguishes this from the other 3 reasons is urgency. A dog eating grass for gastrointestinal relief typically displays a noticeably different behavioral pattern. They go to the grass quickly and with clear purpose. They eat frantically rather than calmly. They show signs of restlessness or anxiety before and during the grass eating. And they are significantly more likely to vomit afterward. This is the grass eating that does warrant attention. Not because grass eating itself is dangerous in this context, but because the underlying gastrointestinal issue driving the urgent, anxious pattern deserves to be identified and addressed rather than repeatedly self-medicated with a long visit. Welcome to Chapter 3. The Grass-Eating Decoder. Now that you understand the 4 real reasons, I am going to give you a precise observation framework that tells you exactly which reason is driving your specific dog's grass eating. Because the response to each reason is completely different. And responding accurately is the difference between genuinely helping your dog and simply watching the behavior continue indefinitely. Here is exactly what to observe the next time your dog moves toward grass. Observation 1. Watch the approach. How does your dog move toward the grass? Do they walk calmly and begin grazing with a relaxed, almost meditative quality? Or do they move with clear urgency, head down, pulling toward the grass quickly and beginning to eat with a frantic, driven intensity? Calm approach equals fiber-seeking or enrichment behavior. Urgent approach equals gastrointestinal discomfort, or ancestral purging behavior. Observation 2. Watch the eating pattern. Does your dog graze broadly, moving from spot to spot, selecting particular blades? Or do they fixate on one area and consume as much as possible as fast as possible without selectivity? Selective, broad grazing equals fiber seeking or enrichment. Frantic, non-selective consumption equals gastrointestinal discomfort. Observation 3. Watch the body language. Is your dog relaxed during the grass eating? Tail in a neutral position? Eyes soft? Body loose? Or are they showing signs of tension? Hunched posture? Repeated lip licking before approaching the grass? Restlessness immediately before the episode? Relaxed body language equals fiber or enrichment. Tense body language with lip licking equals gut discomfort. Observation 4. Watch what happens after. Does your dog eat the grass and then simply continue their day? Sniff around, come back inside, drink some water, and behave completely normally? Or do they vomit within 15 to 30 minutes of the grass eating episode? Normal aftermath equals fiber or enrichment. Vomiting afterward, especially combined with the urgent eating pattern and tense body language, equals gastrointestinal discomfort that deserves attention. Now here is what to do with each observation. If your dog is calm, selective, and shows no subsequent vomiting, address the fiber deficit first. Add 1 teaspoon of plain canned pumpkin to their daily meal. Consider upgrading to a dog food that lists a named fiber source in the first 5 ingredients. Increase daily exercise and introduce foraging enrichment toys that engage their natural seeking behavior indoors. In many dogs, these simple changes reduce grass eating frequency significantly within 2 to 3 weeks. If your dog is urgent, frantic, tense, and regularly vomits after eating grass, document the frequency. How many times per week is this happening? Is it always at the same time of day? Always before meals when the stomach is empty? These details matter enormously for your veterinarian. A dog that urgently eats grass and vomits 2 or more times per week has a gastrointestinal pattern that deserves professional evaluation, not continued assumption that it is normal. Welcome to Chapter 4. When grass eating becomes a medical red flag. I have one final and critically important responsibility to fulfill before we close today. Everything I have taught you is designed to help you understand normal, manageable grass eating behavior. But certain patterns surrounding grass eating are not normal. And they require you to stop observing and start calling your veterinarian immediately. Here are the specific warning signs that change everything. If your dog is eating grass and vomiting every single day, or multiple times within a single day, this frequency is not a behavioral quirk. Daily vomiting of any kind in a dog represents a gastrointestinal system in genuine distress. It requires blood work, possible imaging, and professional diagnosis. If your dog is eating grass and the vomited material contains blood, even a small streak of pink or red, stop everything and call your veterinarian or an emergency animal clinic immediately. Blood in vomit indicates gastrointestinal bleeding that is never acceptable to monitor at home. If your dog eats grass and begins showing signs of extreme abdominal pain, such as a hunched posture with a tucked abdomen, crying when their belly is touched, or repeatedly looking at their flank with visible distress, this combination can indicate a serious condition such as gastric dilatation or intestinal obstruction. These are time-critical emergencies. If your dog has been eating grass in a yard that has been treated with pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, or any chemical lawn treatment, please contact your veterinarian or the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center immediately, even if your dog appears fine. Many lawn chemicals are tasteless and odorless but systemically toxic, and symptoms can be delayed by hours. And finally, if your dog has recently started eating grass obsessively, having never done it before, and this behavior change coincides with other changes like weight loss, increased thirst, changes in stool, or lethargy, the new behavior combined with other changes is always a signal that something systemic has shifted. That combination requires a veterinary visit, not a YouTube video. You came here today carrying an explanation you had accepted for years. Maybe your entire life as a dog owner. And instead of nodding along with the comfortable folklore that everyone repeats, you chose to go deeper. You chose to ask the better question. Not just, why does my dog eat grass? But, what is my dog actually trying to tell me, and am I listening correctly? That distinction is everything. Your dog cannot sit down beside you and explain that their gut is signaling a fiber deficit. They cannot describe the ancient biological program that compels them toward plant roughage when their internal systems call for it. They cannot tell you that they are bored and understimulated and that the grass is the only interesting sensory experience available to them right now in an otherwise routine day. All they can do is walk to that patch of grass and begin eating, and hope that the person watching them from the window is the kind of person who eventually asks why. You are that person. You were that person before you even pressed play on this video. Because curious, loving dog owners do not accept. That is just what dogs do. As a complete answer. They go looking for the real answer. And finding the real answer means you can actually help. 1 teaspoon of plain canned pumpkin. A fiber-rich food upgrade. A foraging toy that gives their brains something meaningful to do indoors. These are not complicated interventions. They are small, specific responses to real signals your dog has been sending you faithfully, patiently, and repeatedly from that same patch of grass in your yard. Tell me about your dog in the comments below. Do they eat grass calmly and selectively? Or urgently and frantically? Based on what you learned today in the grass-eating decoder, which of the 4 real reasons do you think is driving your dog's behavior? I read every single comment. And your observation might be exactly the piece of insight that helps another dog owner understand their own dog for the very first time. If this masterclass shifted something in how you understand your dog today, please tap the like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that real veterinary science and real answers matter, and it helps us reach the millions of dog owners who are still nodding along to the wrong explanation right now. Subscribe to Paw Secrets Lab and join our incredible, growing family of educated pet parents who refuse to stop at surface-level answers. I am Dr. James Harlow. Add that pumpkin. Increase that enrichment. Watch that grass eating with new eyes tomorrow morning. And I will see you in the very next video.